think, what is that? So we are an academic institution by nature. We look at policy, we look at change, and we create structural change for good. What to do today is tell you not just about what we do, and not just about what we do in blockchain, which is quite interesting in itself, but also give you an insight into that wider blockchain space, looking at the possibilities. Because the whole point about blockchain is what it can create. So our strapline is about measuring non-financial value and creating structures for good. And it's an interesting combination. And it was only when we came across blockchain a couple of years ago that everything kind of came together. And as I say, I'll walk you through our journey. I'm going to tell you about some of the projects that we've got on live. I'm going to tell you about our future plans, which are really kind of groundbreaking and will move things forward. And then at the end, I'd be really happy to take some questions and have some debate. So, based in the UK, my personal background is I was in banking for almost 30 years, working as a senior director for Barclays. Jaded past, and I left Barclays because of my own personal value set and wanting to do different things. And I worked in banking and for non-for-profit. So working with the Bank of England in payments, looking to secure and make sure we had integrity for the banking systems. Transmission through the London systems is £385 billion a day. Every day, that washes through as an average amount. And obviously there are peaks which are much, much more than that. So compared to blockchain is still tiny. It's still a blip on the map compared to the massive amounts of money that goes just through the London markets. However, blockchain is way, way more exciting, and I'll explain why. So, the Centre for Citizenship, Enterprise and Governance. We measure non-financial value, and we put a financial figure on that. So we measure love, we measure hope, we measure social value. And we say we put a financial figure on that so that all of the bean counters, all of the accountants, anybody who's looking at a business case can understand, what does this non-financial value stuff really mean? I'm going to walk you through this quote by Bobby Kennedy. He was at a speech back in 1968, and it still holds true today. He was talking about the GDP of the US. And he's saying it measures everything, but nothing that's what's important. The health of our children, the quality of their education, the joy of their play, the strength of our marriages, the intelligence, the wit, the courage, the wisdom of our learning, the compassion, devotion, all the things that we are measuring now and putting a value on. And it's saying, in short, we measure everything, but nothing that makes life worthwhile. So how have we evolved as the human race without really measuring this stuff? It's all about the profit. It's always about the bottom line. And we have organisations that are stealing from their workforce and from their supply chain to enhance their bottom line profit, and putting slavery as part of their infrastructure and accepting that that's okay because they can. And in 2018, that just should not be possible, but it still happens today. So we measure the non-financial value. We measure whether these organisations are stealing from the environment, whether they are stealing from their workforce, whether they are stealing and squeezing their supply chain so much that they can't operate properly. And our work has been going for over 7 years now, and we've caught global attention. We've got over 117,000 followers, and we've had Hollywood superstars, and we've had near presidents. I was so disappointed when she didn't get in because she was on our magazine cover just at that point. But that's another story. So these kind of prominent political figures, prominent public figures, admire our work and can see the value of the non-financial value. And so it's been an interesting journey for us. So, I've talked about the think tank. We've got over 200 people that support that. And one of our products is this magazine, which you can all get online, the Social Value and Intangibles Review. And again, that's kind of, we are an open, broad church. You can submit articles and be a part of this journey as part of it. Blockchain is just a part of that journey. We've had a number of commercial spin-outs, and one of them is SORATIO, the social earnings ratio. And that measures the non-financial value that we've talked about and puts it into a metric to make it easily understood. That company has formed the basis of the regulations that sit behind the Social Value Act in the UK and the Modern Slavery Act. And we use the metrics to enforce the position on those and to support government and regulation in making that happen. So it's, these things are happening. They're happening across Europe. We've had EU commissions, and this organisation, as I say, has got a long track record in making that through. So the non-financial side is both accepted and recognised as a measure and a metric. But it's only when we came across the blockchain that started to have the potential for us to transact that value. So imagine, we do these measures, it goes into a report, somebody gets the contract as a result of that, and they're very, very happy. What actually changes? Not a lot. The impetus to create social value in a bid under a Social Value Act demonstration, everybody's very, very keen. But once they've got the bid, it's less exciting then. Their impetus and their motivation to create the social value starts to wane once they've got the contract. So we wanted to move it from being just about a report to transactional value. And at the same time, fintech, which you're all here to talk about, humanitarian tech, social tech, the ability to understand sentiment and what that means, the ability to change and exchange data, the ability to work with friendly technologies to get the data in the first place, to use the measures, are all enhancing at the same time and come to a perfect circle for us to be able to transact on the blockchain. So we all understand cryptocurrency, I hope. Who owns cryptocurrency in the room? Put your hand up if you've had or you still hold any kind of crypto. About 50%. Yeah, it's interesting. But we all understand the idea of a peer-to-peer transaction in that. Imagine when you are transacting the love of your family or the creation of value in your community, and that has real value for you. That's what we've created on the blockchain, and I'll show you the projects that are working with that at the moment. So, our USP. Cryptocurrency is all about the hard financial value. Whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or anybody else, I've got a block of value and I transfer that to you. The transfer of ownership of their block. Everybody gets that. What we've done is add in our red block to attach to it, to say there's a financial value of a transaction, of course, but what is the non-financial value? How does that really interact? What is the measure? Are you adding to the value of something, or are you detracting from it? And so we have this, we created a currency. We had the first ICO in the UK to see if it actually works, to go through all the technology, to talk to the regulators, to make it happen, and basically to put us on a global stage to demonstrate that this can work. Not about having a massive amount of millions of pounds of currency and making money. more around the concept of what that creates. So you can have the financial value and the non-financial value alongside. And my colleague always talks about an example of this where I would say, this wonderful young man down at the front, who's not even looking at me, young man, I would like to buy your shirt from you. Looks great shirt, very designer. And you say, oh, thank you very much. And I say, I'll give you £1,000 for it. He starts to take it off there and then. And then I say, okay, I'll pay you in KKK coins. You say, whoa, hang on a minute. No, I don't quite like the sound of that. I'm not aligned to those values. Where on earth am I going to spend those? Even if it is worth £1,000, whatever that means. And all of a sudden, the transaction doesn't look quite so attractive. And it's a, thank you, those are not my values. So the idea is using the blockchain to have an extra layer, to build something good in society, to be able to have that transparency and to make value-aligned products. So what on earth does that mean? White papers. You can't get anywhere in this blockchain space without writing a white paper. And you'll find that most companies, most organizations have one, possibly two. We've already posted 8 white papers, and there's 2 more in production. It's quite a complex area. There's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of influence, and it's about taking all the work of the non-financial values that we've already created outside of the blockchain space and making it work in blockchain where we have these structures for good, where we can actually make a difference to society. These are all online, by the way, so each one is an insomniac curing paper in its own right. I do invite you to have a look. So, who are our projects and what do they mean? Each one of these, I've put the very bold title there of groundbreaking projects, because I believe they absolutely are. And I'll just give you a little flavour of each one to give you an idea of how this comes to life. So, student coin. Everybody understands this stuff. When I used to talk about non-financial value, there'd be the tumbleweed moment. And everyone would go, what? I don't understand. What is that? What do you mean? How do you measure it? What is going on? As soon as I put the word coin behind anything, people go, oh, yeah, right, I see. A coin, a token for students. There is much media attention at the moment in the student market. Are we giving fair value to our students? They go to university, they come out with a big, massive debt. Is that a good thing? Does that feel right? Are they getting value for money? Our students have become, in a very short space of time, consumers. The universities have not yet caught up with that at all. And there's a very diverse market. If I go to Cambridge, I pay the same fee as if I go to, and I don't want to name any of them, but let's say a more local university that does not have the prowess, but I pay the same fees. How can that be right? So we at the moment are both measuring universities themselves to look at that value proposition, separate kind of piece of work, but here with Student Coin, they are looking at the voice of students, that value for money proposition, that how do we club together as a community to make a difference? Not just about voucher exchanges and discounts and if I can get £1 off my coffee at Costa, a real vote and a voice, bottom up, organic. Blockchain is all about decentralization. So not about I'm in charge, in the middle, and everybody else does what I say, and this is my version of the truth. It is about an organic community. We partner with these and 25 other organizations that have vibrant transacting communities. And what that means is each of these, which I will go through, and our other commissions, which tend to be a little bit smaller, have a big organisation of people that have similar views, similar values, and want to be able to use that in a kind of transactional sense. They want to use, not just as a cryptocurrency, but the voice, the message, the campaigning, the bringing together in a decentralized way, not just one student body saying this is how it is, that whole empowerment back to students. Women's Coin, again, are looking at a global proposition for a foundation for women, equality for women throughout the world, which of course is a sustainable development goal of the UN and 200 plus countries, and yet we're still not there. Only just recently in the UK have we started to have some transparency on pay disparity. Those companies, over 250 now have, employees now have to disclose their pay disparity between men and women. And it's not equal. Even after all these years of equal pay, it's not equal, is it? What Women's Coin hope to do is to direct, through transparency, through information. If I am the main household spender, then I don't want to go to an organisation that pays women less than it pays its male employees. I don't want to shop in an organisation where there is, slavery and child labour within their supply chain. But at the moment, it's hard for me to know. Very difficult to understand where things are because everything is so complex behind the scenes. So Women's Coin are looking to transform that transparency through provenance, through freedom metrics, anti-slavery issues, through pay disparity, to bring women's spending using the power of that, again, organic, bottom up, to do that, as well as creating women's empowerment around the world and education and training, as you might expect a women's foundation to do. The Ubuntu coin, this one's in preparation at the moment. Those the other two are live, by the way. Ubuntu coin is around Black values. And they're looking, again, to have a virtuous circle of, there's a lot of peer-to-peer payments already go on. So if you think of, there's a lot of money that goes, say, from the US into relatives that may still be living in Africa. And they want to capture that market, which is there already, but also create more, recognizing what it means to have Black values and what that creates in their societies. So again, a foundation-led approach. They're looking to have this particular coin backed by gold or silver or cobalt. So it's in preparation at the moment, but again, it's a different proposition, but based on a set of values, so a community that shares a value set. And interestingly, the growth token there at the bottom, this is another live one that's out there at the moment, and it's creating what we call a blended model. Now, blended models in the past have not been that successful. Social value bonds, for anybody in the room that's ever come across those, have not exactly launched off and have done what they intended to do, because operating a blended model, which is a kind of private public sector, third sector engagement model, is really difficult to do. It's really difficult to pull off because guess what? They come with different value sets. The social guys want to keep people alive forever. The private sector guys say, well, the sooner they die off, then it's off the problems off my books. You've got to kind of balance both of those needs to make it work. And Growth Token are trying to do exactly that by having the potential high growth of a crypto currency value alongside an organization that is creating social value. So there's a blending of the two commercial kind of high gain propositions with a social engine, social enterprise engine that's doing good things. So each of these And these are our partner organisations that have come to us to use our tech, to use our expertise, crucially, to use our value sets to launch their things forward. You'll be hearing about, particularly, I think, Ubuntu coin as it goes forward. They have a big celebrity backing in the US, and we shall watch this space on that one. But for me, it's about as I say, the value set and what that transactional piece will look like. So beyond the ICO, beyond that initial coin offering, what does it really mean? And these are 3 of our projects which are being worked on at the moment. So just go into imagination mode for a moment, bearing in mind that these are being developed, but say they're not in the marketplace right now. So social credits to pay for things. Imagine I go and do a volunteering project. I'm sure lots of you in the room volunteer your time either on a micro-social level within your own communities, or perhaps for bigger groups, or perhaps for, in different ways where you give your time free gratis. We're creating the environment called microshares, which means you get credited for that time. You don't get paid for it, but you get an acknowledgement of the worth that your time has created for that particular charity or organisation. And we're working with a number of retailers at the moment to enable you to change that. So to have an exchange where your social value creation, the goodness that you've helped to create through your volunteering, gives you, a discount in Starbucks or Costa or wherever that may be. So it's you do good and it gets recognised. Choices based on provenance is the, kind of back to the women's coin scenario, where we're saying what has been created here, what is the value of these products. We have already, the fair trade, the organic, the red tractor. There are a zillion different badges which are put on things. But it's not easy at consumer level to understand what does that really mean, and what does it mean for the retailer that's working front of shop to ensure that that's happening. So we're working on this product, process, transactional piece of work to make sure that that is clear, so that you know the level of slavery that's been created, you know the environmental impact that's been created by the goods or services that you're buying. And then when you layer on that artificial intelligence, you can imagine having these are my value sets put into an app, personal to you. These are the things that I am willing to pay more for. These are the things that, if the price is right, I'd rather buy green than not green. If the price is right, I'd rather buy organic than not organic. But, these things are always a balance. So you have your own value set, and then the AI, the bot, steers you into the direction of what it is you want to buy. So you buy in line with your values. There's a lot happening. Coming from an academic angle, we've been able to partner with a whole host of organisations. And I particularly wanted to point out Chengdu University in China. They are not cryptocurrency, but the biggest blockchain university in the world. They are massively funded by the Chinese government, and they're looking at all things blockchain outside of cryptocurrency. So they're looking at how do you orchestrate a city on blockchain? How do you orchestrate a power system on blockchain? What does that involve? And we're working with them to push these things forward. Fordham University in the US are the leaders in humanitarian work. They train more humanitarians in the world than anybody else. Interestingly, Trump went to Fordham. I don't think he was on that course, though. So, again, we're working with Fordham around what does blockchain mean in the humanitarian space, And it's not an area where you can trial it. You can't say, you know, we've got 100,000 people at risk of dying. Oh, let's have a trial and a project. Let's see what will work. Lives are at risk. So the infrastructure has to be in place, already proven, working, transparent, before you can launch these things into the marketplace. But we've got, as I say, big names, big corporate names that are sitting behind all the work, who are, you know, funding this and making it go through. Frontiers is the world's first independent peer review journal. Talk about fake news. Peer review journals are the stuff that churns out of universities all the time. Highly researched, highly documented, highly cross-referenced, and therefore believable, you know, as close to fact as you get. It's not easy to create a peer review journal, because the whole point is it's peer reviewed. It's lots of people put their reputation on the line to make this happen. I mean, the blockchain space, we've come across all sorts of interesting characters. It's full of scams. Already, the people that we've come across in the last 2 years, a number of them have already disappeared by the wayside and fallen onto stony ground, and their projects have come to nothing. Even some of the big money raises have had severe problems with their management teams and making it happen. So we've been asked to co-edit with UCL in London this first independent peer review journal, which will be available June, July time, if all the timings work out this year. And it will become the prominent go-to place. So as the market develops, as our industry matures, as blockchain projects become on the boardroom agenda, the way that we want to do things, it will be this kind of research that counts. So it's really, really quite interesting for us. And finally, I wanted to introduce to you Rothbard E Co. As a not-for-profit think tank, we kept being asked for our view. What do you think of this? How would you do that? Can you give us a flavour of, can you give us some consultancy to help us do various things? And that was coming from family offices, from corporates who wanted to do particular programs or just look at the blockchain space. You know, there's a Me Too angle at the moment of, should we be in this or should we not? What's the pros and cons? How do we make that step? Are we going to miss out if we don't, you know, if we don't go forward in the blockchain space? And so, again, as a commercial spin-out, we've created Rothbard E Co to be an institutional blockchain consultancy. And today, my colleague Jan O'Hara is here. He's our brand new managing director of that division. And what we do is not just about, again, the cryptocurrency advisory, which is a big space, but the investment and the analysis and the research and the education. We are there predominantly to kind of be the non-partisan player in an organisation, to become effectively the McKinsey of the blockchain space. And interestingly, we are recruiting, because demand for this stuff, demand for independent assessment, demand for help, not just from individuals, but from, you know, an organisation that has a reputation and can be trustworthy is massively growing. So if any of you either have blockchain experience or a real interest and you're a senior person who's got some gravitas, see myself or Jan after, and let's have a conversation. We've got offices around the world. Obviously, we're based here in the UK, but we've got the US, we've got Switzerland, we've got India, we've got Japan, and we've got China, of course. Everything happens in China. We've got a lot going on as a kind of think tank positioning. The blockchain space, I would say, is the most exciting project we have, because it has the power to make a change, because it's taking away that middleman, because it's empowering our communities, That means organic growth, which means it's slower than just coming in and saying this is how it's going to be and this is how we will grow it. The organisations that you see in blockchain now, of course, they won't all survive over time. However, look for the ones that add the value. Look for the ones that are making a positive change. Attach yourself to those projects and you know, make blockchain worthwhile. It's only a technology, she says to a tech audience. It's the application, the how we do things differently. That's the bit that's going to make a difference and count for us all. And this is the first tech that's come along since the internet, really, that has the power to change how we operate just by taking out the middleman. But it's not all about finance. It's absolutely not just about finance. It'll be led by finance, and that's the market. But remember, its place in the world of 385 billion versus, you know, the very small, I don't even know what the transacting at globally now on blockchain. But that will grow into other things. The big difference is the decentralization and the power to the individuals to be a part of society and make a difference. Thank you very much.